Don't doctor doctrine.
You are listening to Saints in the South. All right, welcome everyone. This is season 2, episode 70. We are Saints in the South, representing saints everywhere, and we are your source for gospel growth and good times. Whether you are watching on YouTube or listening on your favorite podcast platform, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave us a review and a rating. You can do that on our website, saintsinthesouth.com. You can also do that on any of the podcast platforms, whether it's Apple, Google, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, any source out there. Go ahead and leave us a review. Go ahead and check us out on our social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all at Saints in the South. This week, we are in sections 49 through 50. That which is of God is light. Uncle Andrew, take it away.
So here we are in the spring of 1831, a year after the church was organized, and we are introduced to a man by the name of Leman Copley. And he asked Joseph Smith, he's a new convert to the church, and he asks Joseph Smith about his old faith, the Shakers. So we're in section 49, we'll learn the differences and the similarities between the Shakers and our belief. So, and then in 49, he asked Sidney Rigdon and Party P. Pratt and Leman Copley to go close to Cleveland and talk to the Shakers and introduce the restored gospel of Jesus Christ. Then in section 50, there's a lot of just weird things going on. People are just so new to the church and recognizing the Spirit, the Holy Ghost, and a lot of just moving around, loudness, shaking, just kind of strange things to us now. But back then it wasn't, anyway, so strange, but unusual. And Party P. Pratt and John Murdoch and others met with Joseph Smith about this. And they said section 50 was actually revealed very slowly and very slow. So it must have been a little Southern flavor like myself, right, Heidi?
I think it's great. Slow roast is the right way.
Yeah, so I learned some things about the Shakers that I was not aware of. One, that they thought that Christ had already appeared for the second time as a woman, which is an interesting concept.
I wondered did they call them the Shakers, kind of like how they called us the Mormons?
Yeah, I mean, it's a nickname.
Yeah, because they shook, I guess, but it was the United Society of Believers in Christ's Second Appearing. So they have a very long name, I guess. Yeah. Your Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints also. Yeah, we've got a long name. So I guess they called them the Shakers.
A breakoff group from the Quakers.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so they were part of the Quakers in the late 1700s. Mother Ann Lee and a few others migrated or went to the Americas, New England area, and called themselves the Shakers.
Did you know President Nixon was a Quaker?
Really?
Did you know that?
Mm-mm.
Didn't know that.
A Quaker,
so, yeah,
not a Shaker.
So they got a nickname just like us.
Right.
I don't think they actually come up with it, but they might have did. I don't know. But anyways, a lot of people call us Mormons. It's just a quick way. Hey, instead of calling them United Society or what?
Right. That's wonderful.
Right.
Yeah. Being a true disciple of a Shaker, Pratt's in celibacy, was they called it taken upon their cross. That was their cross that they took upon themselves living that life.
Well, and also vegetarianism, which I know plenty of LDS vegetarians, but I feel like that's a lot of rules to follow when the Lord already gives us plenty of commandments.
Right.
I'm not ever asking for more commandments. I'm struggling with the ones I got.
Exactly. That's the way I feel.
Well, living that life is one thing, but preaching that you can't is different.
Right, right.
That, and that's where in this section 49, that Mr. Leman dude asked Joseph, "Hey man, I need some not revelation, but I need to know what the difference." And that's when Joseph Smith received that revelation. They wrote it down, and then Sidney, Parley, and Leman, and Leman kind of knew the area because he was a Shaker, and they took this section and introduced it to the Shakers, and it wasn't received very well, honestly, by Cleveland. It wasn't received very well, and they were kind of we're okay with our faith, but.
I really liked this section. There's a lot of juxtaposition of how the Lord addresses the two groups.
Mhm.
Well, first of all, I feel like these sound like stupid questions. Like, should we be procreating? Yeah.
Right.
Should we, I feel like, but how many times do we come to the Lord with probably what he thinks? Come on, guys, we've covered this stupid questions, and he answers it anyway, and he answers it incredibly patiently. And talking about a slow, methodical section, I was thinking about, like, this is a very great example of how to parent someone who may not be getting something we've covered. And he pretty much says no stupid questions. So we're going to talk about that. He says he coaches them up on what to say. Like, here's the information you need to go back with the Shakers, and has a script. We in my family have very scripted conversations because of autism. You have to say, if this happens and this happens, you need to look for these keywords. Had a conversation with my daughter on Friday. Something happened at school. She's kind of upset about it. And we spent a lot of time saying, and here are the steps you take if that happens again. Here's this step. If it gets to this point, you call me. If it gets to this point, I'll come set the school on fire. Things like
Right.
I gave her a step of expectations of these are the things that we can do together. And I think the Lord does that here. He's like, that's fine that you're not understanding something I thought was basic or that I already taught you. We're going to cover it anyway. So
Right.
patient, and even calls them little children. He doesn't call the Shakers little children, but he calls his own people, you're little children and you're figuring it out, and that's okay. And I need to remember, when my kids ask me really stupid questions, which will happen today, like, how do I respond? And it's not taking away expectations. He doesn't have low expectations of these people.
Right.
He's saying, we're going to cover where you're at now so we get to the next point.
Right. I like the fact in verse 1, Sydney and Parley were two that were sent, as far as, and also Leman. But in the Scripture Plus app I'd read, it said Sydney Rigdon and Parley P. Pratt were probably the most qualified missionaries among the saints to minister to the Shakers. Parley grew up in New Lebanon, New York, close to the largest and most important Shaker community at the Mount Lebanon Shaker Society. Records also show that Parley had several extended family members who were Shakers. Sydney had been a minister in the region for several years and was a strong proponent of communalism. I think that's how you say that, communalism. Making it likely that he traded and had economic connections with the Shaker communities in North Union, Ohio. So these guys were very much privy to the Shaker community. They knew what it was all about. They may have even known a lot of the people and dealt with a lot of people in that community. So because sometimes I wonder why they sent Sydney and Parley. And of course, Leman was sort of obvious, I think, because he was sort of tied in with them. But I was like, why Sydney and Parley? Why not, Oliver and Joseph? Why didn't they just go and take care of it? But there's a reason. The Lord does things on purpose, right? I mean, so. And
reading on the kind of the historical background, they said it's likely that Leman asked about going, and because in this section here, he says, you go and will teach them what I have given to you, not what you know, or what your beliefs are, but what I shall reveal unto you. I liked verse 15. It made me think of a proclamation to the world. Verse 15, it says, and again, verily I say unto you that whoso forbiddeth to marry is not ordained of God, for marriage is ordained of God unto man. And looking at the proclamation to the world, it says the family is ordained of God. Marriage between man and woman is essential to his eternal plan. And of course, we know the proclamation goes into detail about marriage being ordained of God, family and life and everything it's sustaining. So that's what I thought of there. And
Paul talked about this. The Apostle Paul in 1 Timothy 4, he talked about in the last days there would be people that forbade. I don't know how you would say it. Forbade marriage. They would forbid marriage. How do you say that? I
think forbade is the correct past tense.
Yeah. So
past, present, participle. I don't
know. Somewhere in there. We'll get English next time. But yeah, it's so he was saying in the last days that these things would happen. That people would forbid to marry. Don't marry. Right. That's not a good thing. It's like, what? But anyway.
So selective obedience. So Leman Copley was a convert to the church, and he wanted to do good. I mean, for that reason, he approached the prophet himself, Joseph Smith, because he was a Shaker and he was struggling trying to transition to this new faith. But Elder Pace, Glenn Pace, talks about selective obedience. You only choose what you want to believe, choose what you want to obey. He said there are some of our members who practice selective obedience. A prophet is not who displays truth from which we are free to pick and choose. However, some members become critical and suggest a prophet should change the menu. A prophet doesn't take a poll to see which way the winds of public opinion is blowing. He reveals the will of the Lord to us. So I was reading about that, and the buffet analogy got brought up as I was looking into all this, how you got a buffet of all these foods, but what do we do when we go to a buffet? We choose what we want, right?
Right.
And anyways, they were talking about Leman Copley left some of the gospel foods on the buffet. You know, he only wanted to base some because it was hard to take it all in, you know, so.
And I think there's a way you can do that spiritually, and there's a way you can do it where it holds you back. I think there's sometimes we are presented with information that our testimony isn't there yet, and we can shelve that for a while. It doesn't mean we're not going to come get a scoop of it later, but I think there's a spiritual way to say, hey, I'm not rejecting it. I'm just not ready for it. And as the more you work on other things, you can be like, I'm ready for that now.
Exactly.
I was going to say something. We're talking about marriage. I don't know if we're going to go into that, but I have an imagery that I thought of once that I've come back to many times if I working with men or I am married to a man. And if you picture a pair of scissors, are those two pieces the same? Like they have scissors are clasped in the middle. They have a hinge. They look like it would be very similar because there's the blade and the handle. And even like the most basic scissors, they're different. There's a different, and can you cut anything with a single pair, like the single shear?
Right. Very difficult.
Not very well.
But if you have the second shear, they feed the paper through and it's easier. I've thought a lot about that. To me, men and women are actually very similar in a lot of ways. Our physical makeup may be different, but there's, about 50% of it we share some of the same stuff, right?
We have arms.
Right. Clearly the same template was used. I've thought so much about how we're similar in a lot of ways. Like we're all going to get hungry. We're all going to get tired, things like that. There are things that my husband does very well that I don't do very well. And that's where the priesthood is the hinge that holds us together. And I think the things that we've been able to accomplish, because when we're working together, one of us is pulling while one is cutting, and we can get the task done. I've thought neither is the man without the woman. I mean, if you cut something with just a single shear, you can really hack it up.
Yeah, that's all you can do.
It's a big old mess.
Exactly.
So
that's a very good visual. I like that. I love that.
I call it priesthood scissors.
The priesthood.
That was better than my buffet analogy.
I like your buffet one because you can go back for another scoop of the gospel. I'm ready for this. I love seconds of certain things.
And obviously, we do like some of those things on the buffet over here a little better than we do over here.
Right.
Yeah, right.
But
you buzz through that salad section.
So, kind of speaking about the buffet 18, and whoso forbiddeth to abstain from meats, that man should not eat the same, is not ordained of God. So, all of you vegetarians out there, you better go get you a cow.
49:18.
And to my sister-in-law Sarah, who's listening, he doesn't mean you. You keep doing you.
No, we're not against vegetarians.
You can't. Obviously, your body needs protein.
Yes, absolutely.
Your body cannot function without protein.
Right.
So the Lord has provided a way to obtain protein without eating meat.
Yeah,
there are the certain beans and everything, and the combination of peanuts and all.
You
got
to think this was 1830s, right?
Folks were probably just like, "What's in the backyard? That's what we'll eat."
Exactly. And this was 1830s. To get your protein was easier to get. You got some chickens, you got
your crop fails.
Yeah, it's hard to. Back then, you couldn't find. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head what plant-based food has the best proteins right now. I really couldn't. I mean, I guess with modern technology, I do know of a few things, but back then, I mean, what did they know? I mean, they knew protein was meat.
Isolate at the GNC.
That's right.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, it is what it is.
I had a scoop of collagen in mine this morning, and that's a cow bone. So,
I mean, there you go.
I think it's non-cow bones.
Straight up. Straight up cow bone.
Sounds terrible.
So verse 22. I love this verse.
I had it highlighted too.
It says, and again, verily I say unto you that the Son of Man cometh not in the form of a woman, neither of a man traveling on the earth.
Right.
So it's not going to be where everybody's wondering, is that the Savior?
Exactly.
Everybody's going to know.
Yeah,
There's not going to
yeah.
be any
Right.
question. This is the Savior coming in his glory.
Yeah.
And I love that when the Lord addresses us as his children, like, hey, children, listen. I think he's setting up the whole process of how he's going to talk to us at that point. It's like, just like Heidi, you talked about how he has to answer these dumb questions type things. He has to explain things that he feels like maybe I've already really given you this. Yeah. And it's like, here I am again. So I think when the Lord says, oh, children, listen, like, look at me, face me here, listen this time. It's like, and so he says things like this, like she's, I'm not going to come in the form of a woman, and I'm not going to be a guy traveling, I'm not going to, none of these things, right? I'm going to be this, it's like, I feel like he just talks to you like,
right,
we got to really focus here. I want to lay it all out. I'm going to name things you ain't even thought about yet. A man traveling. I'm not going to be that either.
But he doesn't do it in a way where you don't want to ask another question.
Exactly.
I think that's incredibly dangerous, because if you answer your child in a way that's short,
yeah, that's true.
Why would they ever ask you another
That's
question?
True.
You have to respond to your children. I'm not great at this. I'm working on it. You've got to do it in a way that the door's always open. You
Always
don't want
open.
kids thinking, well, mom got mad when I asked this, so I'm going to the internet.
That's not good. Not good.
And he does that very clearly. He's like, little children, let's keep talking about it. I'll answer your questions, but it's a dignified way. It's respectful to a question or two.
And we'll learn at 50 how you reason with one another. Like,
oh
Jesus
yeah, I love
Nicodemus, talk to the woman at the well, very loving, but you hold on to you don't change the doctrine, but again, you don't be very short and mean. Right. Who would want to listen in?
Right.
I mean,
you want to feel like, even when because I know the Lord, when I joke about people having stupid questions, I know he's thought the same thing about me. He's like, Heidi, I thought we covered this many years ago. And I know he does that for me too.
Mm-hmm. Are we on 50 now?
I've actually got one more verse. I got one more verse for in section 49. So Leman Copley was a shaker, right?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So I love, and again, this is one of my another little funny moments here. Verse 23, wherefore be not deceived, but continue in steadfastness, looking forth for the heavens to be shaken. If you want to shake, it's coming. I promise you. Okay. And the earth to tremble and to reel and to fro as a drunken man, and for the valleys to be exalted, and for the mountains to be made low, and for the rough places to become smooth, and all this when the angel shall sound his trumpet.
Yeah.
So if you want to look for a sign,
that's right.
This is it.
It's going to be, you're going to have plenty of shaking going on.
Right.
All right.
Exactly.
You don't have to overdo it now.
So Leman Copley, he actually had 750 to 60 acres. And when these saints were coming from New York, he gave it all up. I mean, he was a new convert. He was ready.
Wow.
He was ready to be
just completely embrace. Yeah.
But he just couldn't.
Yeah.
Just couldn't eat all that food on that buffet table.
Yeah, it got to him.
Yeah, but he did get excommunicated, but he did get rebaptized, but he stayed in Ohio when they went to Missouri. So I don't know.
Yeah. And there is a story there, and I'm not even going to attempt to try to tell it, but there's some kind of story there about how they delivered the message to the Shakers, about how Sidney Rigdon may have sat on it a little bit and not delivered it as quickly maybe as he should. And so when Leman got there, it's in the Scripture Plus app, I think, and it was a super long story, so I wasn't going to bring it up here, but there is something there that sort of triggered Leman into why he sort of became more torn then between the church, seeing how the church reacted and then how the Shakers reacted, and it made him even more sort of distance from the church.
Well, part of Pete Pratt,
people aren't perfect.
He was a very colorful missionary.
Oh, that's what
and he kicked off the dust.
He did. He shook off his coattails.
Yeah,
as to tell them that basically the Lord has turned his back on you. It's kind of like in no certain terms. That's what he's told the people, the Shakers, and so that didn't sit right with Leman at that point. And there's a lot to that.
Yeah, there's a lot to it, but
it's there's things that happen there. It wasn't that Leman just said, you know what, I'm just going to go with the Shakers. I mean, there was things that happened, and we just have to be careful of that. We talked about that before with some of the other stuff, but
it's also with his you kind of, we all have our different characteristics and everything, kind of what makes us
Right.
tick. But he was already picking and choosing from his previous faith, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
He was doing,
Yeah,
that,
he was-
and now he's doing the same thing here with with the Saints. So it was almost just kind of a character trait that he,
it was
that he had.
It was
So section 50.
50.
Yeah, section 50. So there was John Carter. He was conducting a sacrament meeting. They're close to Cleveland, Ohio. Like Kirtland, all's by Cleveland. So a lot of things you'll read about Cleveland, Ohio. Well, it's like 20 minutes away from Kirtland. But anyways, all of a sudden he's conducting a sacrament meeting, and a woman just falls down and starts getting crazy, saying she received the Spirit. And it wasn't until section 50 was just received. So he actually applied section 50 in verses, I think 31 through 34. He practiced, he actually went and prayed and asked God for counsel. And anyways, it was just interesting how in section 50, it was just received, and he actually applied it then. And then also there in section 50, part of P. Pratt and Joseph Wakefield goes around to all these branches and introducing section 50 and really trying to get things back, not back, but trying to get things in order, how
things are
clarified.
Yeah.
And just to make clear, this is not a metaphor type thing. These are actual spirits that we're dealing with. These are false, evil spirits, that we're dealing with here. This wasn't just some kind of way to say that, people are not doing what's right and this and that. But
that's what they would do during the meeting.
Really? What's that mean?
I mean, no, what I'm saying is, as someone's talking, all of a sudden they would feel the Spirit, and they just,
just crazy
I mean,
stuff.
how it could be disruptive.
So now I understand.
I mean, just very disruptive in spirit.
But yeah. These were actual evil spirits that we're dealing with.
And I think it shows that's very abstract in my mind, thinking that an evil spirit would be present. But it shows really that Satan is, though he has no body, he's still very powerful in his means to distract. He loves a distraction.
Right. Yeah. The church was launching off.
Yeah. He loves mimicry too. Like, oh, you want to feel the Spirit? We'll show you some spirit.
Right.
Yeah. It was launching off. It was catching on fire. And this was a way that Satan could creep in and confuse a lot of people.
Well,
so
this
section
happened.
50.
This happened in the New Testament. You remember Christ had to expel spirits out of people a couple of times, and Satan, as you say, when Christ is around, when things are happening that are good, and here comes Satan. Satan's going to do his thing.
Old pal,
exactly.
Satan.
Exactly.
So how real is that, and how often does that happen? Like, today, I don't know if y'all had any experiences on your mission where you were called in to cast out evil
well, I would, like actually, so I served in South America. It's a lot. It's a whole lot different than it is here, obviously, with certain things of how they do tend to more believe, or what should I say? They do with evil spirits and things. They're not shy. They don't shy away from that being a real thing. I mean, we don't talk about it much here.
Well, I think if you have it's a lot of Catholicism and they believe in exorcism. I think that's clearly what's happening. What things are they keeping from their Catholic heritage? Yeah,
very religious. People here in the States are going away from religious.
Absolutely. That's sort of what I'm getting to. Yeah. And so there was a couple of things. There was one family that we began to teach. Super nice. It was a mom and two daughters, and super nice, super sweet lady. I called her mommy, which was kind of a thing down there because she was like my mom, I mean, that's, and so she was super sweet, super nice. Two daughters, both teenage age, or whatever. And so we were teaching them. Everything was going great. They were ready for baptism. The one younger of the two daughters was sort of like not sure. And so we continued to teach and invite and things. And anyway, the mother and the oldest daughter got baptized. The younger one decided not to, which was fine. And so we would continue our lessons after they were baptized and continue to teach the younger daughter as well. She was super nice and everything. Anyway, we get a call from the bishop one evening, and he says that some weird things were happening at their house. And, he thought that it could be an evil spirit that was there. And I was like, in my mind, United States, here I am, South Georgia boy. I'm thinking, what? Like, what is going on? Like that
possum in the attic.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, what are we talking about?
Is this a horror movie?
Yeah, exactly. And so anyway, we went he said, I want y'all to come here first. I want you to come to my house first. We'll go together. And I thought, absolutely we will, because I'm not going over there, just me and my companion, and I'm senior companion, this other guy, I don't know. So anyway, so I'm like, yeah, great. So we go to the bishop's house. Bishop sits us down. He talks to us about how Satan is real. He himself, he had mentioned that he had seen things, plates flying off of the table, hitting the wall, when he was a young missionary or something. He had told us a story, and I'm just sitting there like, we need to call the mission president. Like, this is not what's going on. Anyway, so we go to that house. We go into the house. When I go into the house, I don't, I'm Exorcist. Okay. Don't advocate to see that movie, but I'm thinking of that kind of thing. And I'm thinking, is this going to be weird? Are we going to see, this is weird. Walk into the house. It's normal. When we get in there, so all houses in South, and I was in Colombia, super hot all the time. Everybody's got fans, oscillating fans everywhere. We go into the house, we sit down, we start talking to them. They were distraught. They were upset. It was mainly the youngest daughter that had seen some things, and she was scared, which caused the whole family to be scared. So anyway, we go in, we sit down, and the bishop says, okay, we probably need to have a prayer. And he looked at me, he says, Elder Corbett, would you please offer that prayer? And I was just like, what do I do? Is this in the authority of the priesthood? Like, do I say, what? Like, I wasn't sure. And so I just started offering a prayer. And as I offered that prayer, didn't say anything like crazy, like I rebuke you, but nothing like that. Start offering a prayer. The oscillating fan that was running, that thing started like jumping around, like you see a fan like messing up. It was like clanking and stuff. This one here, I'm just like, is this real life? Like, is this real? Like, to me, that's what I'm thinking. I don't know. I'm not a skeptic, but I'm a realist, and I don't know. I wanted to chalk it up like, well, the old fan's going bad, guys.
Right,
It's like, you need to fix it. But as soon as we ended the prayer, the fan stopped. It didn't stop. It just was
jumping around.
Right. Kind of. And when I say jumping around, it wasn't like it was hopping around the room. It was shaking bad. It was making a loud noise. And anyway, so that happened. And, we felt good after that. Come to find out, long story longer, the younger daughter had been reading some witchcraft type material. She was fascinated by it.
How to do it every time.
Yeah, she was fascinated by it. She loved the dark stuff and had books and had them in her room. And she said she'd seen a dark figure in her room in the corner and things like that. And that's where all this started. Was when I was caught in.
The cedars are going to get
in. And so that's, and this is something, that, so when I read this, I actually thought about that. I thought about that in my mind. I thought, well, this, it's real. Satan is real. Satan has his followers, and he can, if the Lord allows, I say Lord allows, if he can get in, he can possess you. He can, it's happened in the scriptures and things. And obviously the Lord can stop those things. He doesn't just automatically have power over us. Satan doesn't, but we can allow him to have power over us if we give into his everything, whatever. But anyway, so that's my little weird story. Never saw any, like I saw a figure or I saw something
head
fly.
Spinning.
No, nothing like that. Vomit everywhere, no. But so yeah, that's my little story. And I'm sticking to it. I do want to just, on a good note, the younger daughter did get baptized.
Oh, very good.
Eventually, later on, we got her away from those things. I was
donated
like,
the books to Goodwill.
Yeah, right. Took them to the orphanage, let the kids. No, we didn't.
Well, I'll make mine short, but similar experience. There, right on the borders of Uruguay and Brazil. I'm a new missionary, Melo, Uruguay. I get there, go to someone's house, an active member. and she's claiming that there's wicked spirits, things are moving around. Very sincere when she's saying it, and it was very dark. We did feel like some dark things were happening, but didn't know any information.
Right.
So I had a wise senior companion say, "Well, Elder Hester, this Elder, I'm trying to remember exactly how he said. I'm translating from Spanish to English, but he's basically saying, Elder Hester, let's cast out evil spirits. Go ahead." So as a new missionary, struggling with the Spanish language anyways, I get the white book.
Did you hold your arm to the square or anything like that?
I didn't do that.
I've heard about it. Yeah.
So in every missionary, I don't know if it's still white, but like a little white book.
Yeah.
Y'all remember what it says
That
how
might
to do
be
it.
what, now that you're saying that reminds me of that. That might be something there.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I pulled out that white book and looked how to do it
Yeah.
with the Melchizedek priesthood, and it's short and sweet. I read how to cast out evil spirits.
Yeah.
And I did it, felt good about it. I was probably more struggling on my Spanish than anything.
Right.
What did your letter to your mom look like that week?
I'm telling you.
So
Dear mom, that's what we did.
We cast
so the
out
next
some evil
week
spirits.
I see her at church. Kind of forgot about it. Not really forgot, but we had so much other things going on. I go to church the next Sunday, and this family comes. She said, "Hey, I want to talk to y'all." And she said there was light, there was peace, there was love.
That's cool.
It just all went away. And my testimony grew because I recognized what the priesthood could do, and I learned from that and moved forward. You know, it was definitely a moment in even though I was struggling, kind of down on myself with the Spanish, I remember then that the priesthood, it can work for all, no matter how smart, how intelligent you are, but the priesthood's real for any worthy male. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, very, very, very cool.
Like I say, it's real stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
it's real stuff. It's, you know, I didn't see some of the things that Joseph Smith said he saw. I thought this was very interesting. He said, Joseph Smith said he saw, this is the prophet Joseph Smith said he saw this. He said, soon after the gospel was established in Kirkland and during the absence of the authorities of the church, many false spirits were introduced. I like the fact that it says in the absence of the authorities of the church. You know, that's when they're like, okay, they're gone. Now we can play.
Yeah.
But anyway, it says many strange visions were seen, wild enthusiastic notions were entertained. Men ran out of doors under the influence of the spirit, and some of them got upon the stumps of trees and shouted.
Yeah.
And all kinds of extravagancies were entered into by them. One man pursued a ball that he said he saw flying in the air. Harry Potter? No, I'm just kidding. He saw flying in the air. And he says until he came to a precipice, when he jumped into the top of a tree, which saved his life. In other words, he pretty much was about to kill us.
Yeah.
I mean, he almost killed himself, but the tree stopped him from killing himself. I mean, he landed in the tree. Anyway, so it's some crazy
Satan
things
trying to
going
create
on.
a lot of confusion.
Oh,
That's all
yeah.
he's doing. Just
But the thing about this is we go on and learn, does that edify? Do you feel good after that? You know what I mean? And that's the point that they start noticing, which is why they bring up like, hey, this doesn't really feel good, you know?
So we have to remember line upon line, precept upon precept. We got to
Right.
remember Joseph Smith already went through some years of not getting the gold plates for 4 years. He had some learning and growing to do. And now the priesthood is restored. He's went through a lot of trials, obstacles, and now he's a prophet. Well, these are just brand new babies in Kirtland. So it's all new to them. And again, this is section 50 is a masterpiece. Very explains discerning the spirit.
I think one thing I thought a lot about section 50, verse 23, they say that which doth not edify and is not of God and is darkness. We have in the past few years had some really incredible manuals produced by the church on how to teach lessons. And a lot of it is both preachers and hearers need to be enlightened by the Spirit. I think the church has really been proactive, and we've always had manuals, but even more so now this is what we're covering. These are a lot of the important topics. Pray about it and go the direction the Spirit guides you. I think if you want to juxtapose that with other spirits and darkness, the spirit of goodness will produce things. There will be a product. And I think as you study the new manuals, if you study with your family and say your home church on Sunday, I think that's a manifestation of this is how the Spirit works. Look at the incredible things. Even if your kids are crying and fighting in the corner, there are front and center, not even in the corner. But the spirit that can accompany those things is very real. And you can compare that with the darkness of the world. It's clear as day. And I love how the church has put so much on. If this is going to happen, it's because you guys are going to work at it.
And I really love how the church has put a lot of effort into putting everybody on the same page, from your Sunday school lessons
like
to adult lessons, all the way to seminary.
I was going to say, that's a big one.
Changed.
That's a big one. That was super. When I heard that, I was like, yes.
Yeah.
So we don't have to cover, they're in whatever over here and everybody else is here. And it's like, oh, we got to get both.
Everybody's on the same page.
Right. It's so much.
I think it helps drive discussion
absolutely
within the family and everything.
Absolutely.
So, and Heidi, speaking of, where the kids are crying or fighting and stuff, and you're trying to do, it's reassuring that when you do have those short little moments where they will answer something and you're completely blown away and like, holy cow, they are listening. They are learning something. At some point it sinks in a little bit.
Of chaos, and then that one moment, you're like, okay, this is why we did it, and we will build upon that next time.
I will say that it's very when Gavin, my son, he's on a mission, and I love it when he and I don't care. I don't care, where he gets it from, as long as he gets it right. And so he'll mention something like, oh, I heard the coolest thing. My bishop or whatever, one of my companions or this or whoever it is, his mission president or something. So he taught this, he said this, and I'm sitting there going, I've told you that for 15 years. I've been preaching this, and you just now heard it.
There are 4 Nephis in the book.
Yeah, right. Yes. And I'm just sitting there going, really? Like, I remember that one lesson that I prepared for like a week to teach the family, and you didn't. So children will learn when they're ready to learn. I mean, let's just be honest.
Could have been your teaching skills.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing. So what can I say? But yeah, as long as he gets it, I don't care. I mean, as long as he's learning, that's great. But Jeffrey, I want to Holland y'all up right here. Jeffrey R. Holland, he said, when Christ, and this goes along with what Heidi's talking about with the teaching lesson. My eye is the allergies here are unreal. The pollen is everywhere. Anyway,
probably the drywall dust.
Yeah, drywall dust. I mean, just everything. Anyway. Elder Jeffrey Holland, going along with what Holly.
You know what?
Holly. We're
I
going to
get
call
called
you
Holly a lot.
Why?
I don't know. I get Holly or Heather.
It's the H. Anyway, I'm saying Holland and Heidi. All right. So going along with what Heidi said about lessons in the church, how we've refined them more. The Lord allows us to use the Spirit more. I love this, Elder Holland. And this is from one of his, you can't say, I mean, all of Elder Holland stuff is great. A Teacher Come from God, Ensign, May 1998 is the name of it. This is an article. It says, I think it was a conference talk. He said, when crisis comes in our lives, and they will, the philosophies of men interlaced with a few scriptures and poems just won't do. Are we really nurturing our youth and our new members in a way that will sustain them when the stresses of life appear? Or are we giving them a kind of theological Twinkie? Spiritually empty calories. President John Taylor once said such teaching he called it fried froth, the kind of thing you could eat all day and yet finish feeling totally unsatisfied. So in other words, what are we teaching? Are we just reading the lesson? And I have done it, so I can't, I've done that, but my goodness, how boring is that? I'm sorry. I'm not trying to offend anybody. If that's your manner of teaching,
well, you take the teacher where they're at,
right?
And we have the opportunity. Like, there's another thing I was going to mention. Jumping on what you're saying. In college, I took a class, and I can't remember what it's called, but they have the handbook in here, and it's gospel teaching and learning. They break it down.
Yes.
If you want to improve your teaching style, go through this. And there's several things, and that was 25 years ago. I still follow a lot of the things they suggested, because we all start out reading the lesson. If you don't know what you're doing, that's what you do. But they've given so many options to be like, what's your teaching style? Here's some methods you can try. And to me, that's just more of the light of the gospel, saying there's no wrong way to teach a lesson. The only wrong way is of not preparing. And if you have prepared, find your way. And if you can get the people, like teaching a Zoom Sunday school or Relief Society lesson is the worst. Can we say it?
It's the worst.
It's the worst. It's terrible.
It's so hard to try to do.
But if you have a few people that have read the same thing you've read, at least read the talk that you're covering or read part of the lesson, it's a game changer. Like there's that spark. I mean, forest fires are started by a spark. You can get a few sparks going. You can have a totally different lesson. And I love that the church is saying, we've got teachers, but they're more than anything facilitators now, where it's a discussion situation. No one should be sitting and just listening to the teacher talk. We're doing it wrong if that's what's happening.
Exactly. And I love that. And so David Hewitt, you guys know David Hewitt. I don't know if, you knew. Okay. So David Hewitt, he was in the stake presidency before. He was the bishop of Waycross First Ward.
Second.
I'm sorry. Second Ward. That's right. Waycross Second Ward for a while. Actually, right when we moved to Waycross Second Ward, he's the bishop there. Super awesome guy. I think we're all in agreement there. I love Elder Hewitt. He could be a general authority. Brother Hewitt. Anyway, when I was an elders quorum president and he was in the stake presidency, he was over training the new elders quorum presidents. And so for all those 6.5 years that I was elders quorum president, he would always tell us to make sure over everything else that when we're teaching those lessons in class, or whoever's teaching, that we're, he said, make sure it's pure doctrine. He said, don't get up there with your opinions, with your
platitudes. You say platitudes because I love a platitude, but that's not the whole story.
That's basically what he was saying. I mean, don't get up there and basically he's just telling us don't doctor doctrine. Like don't come in and try to turn things and make it sound cooler or something. You know what I mean? And anyway, so it just really stuck with me that we don't have to really get into these to have a great lesson. We don't have to have these crazy story. That's for podcasts, right? I mean, we have crazy.
That's right, exactly.
Leave that for the podcast, but for your classes and things at church, but teach pure doctrine. Don't go out there and try to doctor doctrine to where you're putting your own little twist on things, and the spirit will not be there. It just won't. It will not get the message to the people.
About if your crazy story is pure doctrine.
Well, I mean, that is a true story.
I like verses 29 and 30. Give me a second to get through it here. It says, and if ye are purified and cleansed from all sin, ye shall ask whatsoever ye will in the name of Jesus, and it shall be done. Right? So you initially think, okay, if I'm clean, if I'm pure, whatever I ask, the Lord's going to grant it, right? Verse 30, but know this, it shall be given you what you shall ask. So if we are truly clean, if we are truly pure and have a sincerity of heart and everything, what we are aligning ourselves with what the Lord would have us ask.
That's the key.
And do and what he wants to be done.
It's not going to be, Lord, please help me have a lot of money. That's going to start to dwindle away. You won't,
even with,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. Even with, we've, with COVID and things like that, we've had unfortunately we've had people pass away.
Yeah.
And that's obviously the Lord's will, and I know we're not praying for people to go ahead and be taken, but we would be praying that, that they would be healed and be able to overcome their sickness and everything. And that's what we want as individuals. But if we're ending our prayers with, again, how the Lord ended his prayer, which is nevertheless, thy will be done.
Yeah.
And, it's, anyway, I think about that and asking for things and so forth. If we can ask for things, but at the same time,
the closer we are to the Lord, the closer we are to God, the more our will aligns with his. Yeah. Marion G. Romney, I love this quote. I think it's in Conference Report. It's of October 1944. But he said, he explained how our prayers can progress to the point where they express God's will. He says, the time will come when we shall know the will of God before we ask. He says, then everything for which we pray will be expedient. Everything for which we ask will be right. That will be when, as a result of righteous living, we shall so enjoy the companionship of the Spirit that he will dictate what we ask. So the Spirit will actually help us in our prayer, like tell it, we will know what to ask and what to say. And I find myself doing that more. Believe me, I'm not I'm just trying to work on it. Right. I mean, my prayers could get a lot better, and the Lord knows that more than anybody. But, I do find myself when I get on my knees and I start to pray for something, sometimes I won't even say it because I was like, that's not what needs to happen right now.
Dumb.
Yeah, you're right. Exactly. Like, oh yeah, I'm not even going to say that part, Lord. And so it's true though. That's so true.
I think that's the power of saying a prayer too.
Yeah.
You get the words out of your mouth and you can hear yourself say it. You're like, whoa, nope, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You're right. I'm sorry.
I love the way the Lord, we've touched on this, talking about how he speaks to people, especially in section 50 here. I don't know where it was.
11 and 12, verse 11 and 12.
Was it 11 and 12?
Maybe reasoning.
Yeah.
11, 11 and 12.
I love that. It reminds me, I'm going to tell you what it reminds me of. There's a lot of instances. I think you mentioned a couple.
Nicodemus,
well. But there's also an instance in the Book of Mormon when the Lord is talking to his 12, the disciples that he called there in the ancient Americas. When they were asking about the name of the church, right? And he kind of appeared and he goes, why are y'all talking about this? Like, if you call it in Moses' name, whose church is it? It's Moses' church, all the while, as you say, in a tactful way. It's not in a condescending way. It's not in a point down to you way, but it's like the Lord, he will get to our level. Like he will come right down. There's a wonderful, I love the church Bible videos. I could watch them all day. And there's one, I think it was the daughter of Jairus. How do you say it?
Jairus, Jairus.
That's the spelling. So the father comes to him, finds him in a crowd, finds Jesus, and he's just distraught, and he falls to his knees, and Jesus goes right down with him. Like he doesn't stand up and look down at him. He goes right. I just love that depiction. Jesus will come right down to us. He goes where we are. And I love that with him explaining things. We don't have to be afraid, as you said before, we don't have to be afraid to approach him with our dumb questions, things that, and we definitely wouldn't want our children to do that with us. We want, come ask me a stupid question. I'd rather you come ask me a stupid question.
Stupid answer?
Yeah, I'll give you a stupid answer, but come to me with a question. Don't go to,
your friends aren't smart.
Right.
That's the thing I was.
Google's not smart. I mean, let's just,
talk
just
to your
be
friends
careful
about things, but they're not very smart.
It's true. But I love that. I love the way the Lord talks here. He says, hey, let's reason as a man to a man, as a person to a person, as face to face. Let's talk this out. Let's do this. We need to get down and get face to face here for a second. And I love that, how he does that here to explain this. And I just thought it was really neat that this was here, in this section.
And he speaks so personally. It's it is not a clinical relationship.
Exactly.
It's an actual close relationship.
President Nelson said his last talk at General Conference talking about faith, says Jesus Christ and his church will never fail you.
Yeah.
That was very assuring to me, with all these rabbit holes you could go down with these different groups and different people that's left the church, how they got their theories, but Jesus Christ and his church, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, will never fail you. And again, that gave me comfort. And anyways,
yeah.
The last thing I had, just to end out, I love 33 because it's a different weird thing here, saying that, I say weird thing, it's not a weird thing, I guess, but anyway, talking about spirits, right? In other words, you can rebuke and cast out spirits, but I love in 33, there's a little warning tag to it to go back to that Satan does have power. We need to, I hate to say the word that we need to respect his power, but I think what I'm trying to get to is to just know that he has that power and not pretend that, oh, he can't do anything to me. He can't hurt me. He can, if we're not careful, if we're, but anyway, he says this, the Lord says, not with railing accusation. In other words, don't go rebuking folk, these people out there with railing accusation, that ye be not overcome, neither with boasting nor rejoicing, lest you be seized therewith. And it says the Lord gives his servants the power of discernment, distinguish between false spirits and true spiritual gifts and manifestations from God. With this power, priesthood leaders are to identify or announce when they detect a false or dark spirit, but they should not become boastful in this ability, or they might be deceived themselves. Parley P. Pratt put it in a different way, and I love the way that he did this. He said, basically, we must, however, pity rather than ridicule or despise the subjects or advocates of these deceptions. Many of them are honest, but they have no apostles, nor other officers, nor gifts to detect evil or to keep them from being led to every delusive spirit. So we need to remember that. Sometimes we can look at these people and say, why are you doing this? Why are you thinking that this is good, or that they don't have maybe the guidance that we have? We got to know their background. We got to know, what do you understand? What do you know? So we don't need to just go in there and just casually rebuke them and all that kind of things, And so I thought that was very, very good. The way Parley P. Pratt wrote it, he said, just be kind.
That's what,
Sorry.
Are you all right?
Come on, Andrew.
Spirit, is there a spirit? Okay.
That's what
Man.
You don't have enough attention.
Do I need to rebuke you?
when we finish this off, we're gonna have this little fridge with some water bottles. And things in there.
Let's get it out.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, hold on.
You're struggling. I mean, you got a spirit over there.
Man, I don't know why I got something in my
Probably drywall dust.
Nah, it's that installation.
Yeah, and installation.
That's the stuff.
Sorry.
Is that the itch-free kind?
What's that?
Is that the itch-free kind? I know, they make one. That's
Right, yeah.
Is that the white or the yellow?
I haven't drank out of it yet. If you would like some. It's fresh bottle. Cleaned it last night.
Sure, yeah, I mean.
Yeah, it's totally fresh. No cooties. And I'm fully vaccinated.
I got to do that. I got to get mine.
Yeah, they're shutting it down. You better do it.
Are they shutting it down? Why? Just nobody.
Nobody's
How
doing
you
it.
open this?
I need to do it.
Yeah.
Actually, I might. So can I just drive up there?
Just
or
drive
do I-
up.
Yeah, yeah.
Do it really?
I would do it on a Friday because you might get some symptoms. Both times I had some symptoms on a Saturday, and I was at least
Kind of like a
home.
tired type.
Yeah, I was kind of sick the second time, but it
Now
was
that-
over.
Now I
quick.
don't want to do it. Just kidding. It's like, no, but yeah, I need to do it. Gavin's got to get his, or he can't go out of the
All
country.
right.
That's all
Yeah,
I was going to
that
ask.
was the-
you about. Sorry
yeah,
about
so
it. Thank you.
he's-
It's mine
Totally
now.
fine, Andrew. It's a good water bottle.
Yeah.
It was
Got the
great.
handle. I like the
Yeah,
handle.
like,
Yeah, you'll never see it again.
sorry
right.
about it.
You good?
So I'm good.
Okay.
Whatever
that's-
else y'all have, y'all go.
I'm fine.
So no, I was just gonna mention that's kind of like what Amulet was concerned about with Ammon. Sorry, his joy was going over into boasting, right?
Right.
Right.
And-
Oh, yeah.
And Ammon is like,
That's
no,
true.
I'm not boasting. I'm just excited.
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
Thanks.
Oh, that's true. I
It's
have
like
not.
you don't spit into the wind. The wind still has power,
That's right. That's right. Exactly. Yep.
I would encourage anybody to go back and see that video about when we talked about Ammon, but
Yeah.
we got excited
Yeah.
about that. Was a cool. That was a
Yeah,
cool one.
difference between Ammon and Alma.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. There. Yeah.
Verse 22 to go off what Heidi said earlier. Wherefore he that preacheth and he that receiveth understand one another, and both are edified and rejoice together. Edify. Edify back in the day, especially during that time, was to build and to be better, be stronger. So when you preach and receiveth and work together, you're both edified, being better, stronger, and built.
Well, but the Spirit is called the Comforter, not the Confuser.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Yep. Anything? No.
End us
No,
out.
I
Heidi.
think
That's good.
Holly.
Like, how many times have you watched a dumb TV show and like, I laughed a bit, but afterwards I felt stupid? I think that's it. I think that's it in a nutshell. Like, that wasn't
That's really-
edifying. It wasn't worth my time.
Exactly.
A few minutes of laughing,
That's a good point too.
Very good.
What are we doing?
highbrow comedy.
What are we doing with our time? Are we being edified or not? If not, let's drop it.
Or Elder Eyring saying, if he ever found himself sitting on the couch.
No, it was President Nelson.
President Nelson.
He said, when I find myself,
Sitting on the couch,
he said, I need to get up and be with the people. And I'm
Me,
thinking,
if I sit
wow.
too long, I'm not awake any longer.
Yeah, exactly.
it
I'm thinking-
all- it's spiritual sleep. No, I don't have anything else.
Well, there you go. Hopefully we are edifying you listeners and viewers out there. By the way, we have recently hit 10,000 listens on podcasts and over 14,000 views on YouTube. So thank
Wow.
you everyone out there for your support. and
Much
everything.
appreciated.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Until next time, y'all keep on striving.
Do, do,
I do it. You stole my thing.
I used to always do it.